I got hospitalized for exhaustion, and not a single person from my family showed up. Not one visit. Not even a phone call. Just a text from my brother. Hey, can you still cover my car payment? And that was it. That was the exact moment I stopped pretending I had a family. I did something. And a few days later my dad called me, panicked. What he said next. I'll never forget it. But let me back up. Hi. I'm Erin. I'm 29, I live in Oregon, and I'm a speech therapist at a public school. Which basically means I spend my entire day surrounded by coughing kids, stacks of paperwork, and parents who either know everything or don't show up at all. And no, the kids aren't coughing because of speech issues. It's fall. It's cold. Half the class is sick. And I share a room with the school nurse, so someone's always sniffling 3 inches from my face. After school, I write lesson plans and try not to fall asleep face first in a bowl of microwave noodles. So when I say I ended up in the hospital from burnout, I don't mean it as a metaphor. I literally collapsed in the hallway at work while walking a 5-year-old to group therapy. 1 minute I was upright, the next I was under and for, watching a nurse shake her head and say, "Sweetheart, if you don't stop, your body will stop you for you." Burnout. Acute stress. Dehydration. Sleep deprivation. Call it what you want. It wasn't dramatic. It was just me wearing someone else's hospital robe, smelling like broth, hands shaking, staring at my phone through watery eyes and realizing no one had reached out. No missed calls. No texts. Not from my mom. Not from my dad. Definitely not from my brother Josh. I had even texted them. From the ER. I'd kept it light. Said, "Hey, just so you know, I'm in hospital. I collapsed at school. Okay. They've got me on fluids. Just tired. Love you guys." That's it. No drama. I figured someone would call. Or at least write, "Hang in there." The group chat stayed dead silent. Like an abandoned bus station at night. 3 hours later my phone buzzed. I actually got a little hopeful. Maybe mom? Maybe dad? Nope. Just Josh. A single sad face emoji and then, "Can you still pay the car thing? No, are you okay? No, that sounds scary. Just, the car thing." Like me collapsing in public was some unfortunate hiccup in his monthly billing cycle. That's when it hit me. Cold and fast. Like someone cracked open my ribs and let the wind in. I wasn't a sister. I was a payment plan with a pulse. The thing is, you kind of know when you're being used. But until you say it out loud, or admit it to yourself, you can still play pretend. I'd been pretending. And now I was lying under an 4-bag wide awake to it. I was done being the reliable one. The strong one. The one who holds it all together. I was done being the source. Later, the nurse came back and asked, "How's your pain? Physically? Maybe a 3 out of 10. Emotionally? Somewhere around burn it all down." She left. I stared at the ceiling and started mentally tallying everything I'd canceled this past year. The beach weekend with my friends. Canceled. Josh needed help with rent. New tires for my car. Postponed. Mom called it another family financial emergency. The second job I picked up on weekends? That was to help cover the mortgage. Their mortgage. I work weekends at a toy store in the mall. In December. If you've never stood behind a register while sugar-crazed kids scream and parents argue over a $3 discount, let me tell you, it's not relaxing. It's slow-motion emotional collapse. Not once did I stop and ask, why am I the only one working 2 jobs? Josh is 20. Physically healthy. Emotionally stable if you don't count his Fortnite addiction and complete aversion to employment. He dropped out of college sophomore year. Said it wasn't his path. Mom and dad just nodded like, "Sure, go find yourself." When I was his age, I was working full-time while finishing grad school. But okay. He needs time to discover his own path. Mom hasn't worked in about a decade. Says she has emotional sensitivity to toxic workplaces. Dad takes the occasional freelance gig but mostly hangs out in the garage, fixing imaginary problems and ranting about the downfall of society. They're not disabled. They're not retired. They've just delegated life to me. And I let them. Because I thought that's what good daughters do. I closed my eyes and pictured my studio apartment. Tiny couch, fridge that hums like an aircraft engine, cabinet full of instant noodles. They knew I was in the hospital. They just didn't care. I spent 3 days in the hospital. Just lying there. And for the first time in years I started to feel like a person again. Mentally. Physically. No lesson prep. No tantrums. No 5-year-olds licking the carpet while I try to explain what a syllable is. No constant pressure from their parents either. It was like someone cut the power and I finally stopped twitching. On the 4th day, a nurse came in with my discharge papers. She gave me that soft, tired smile I'd come to recognize and said, "Try to rest. No work for at least a week. Doctor's orders." I nodded. I didn't tell her I'd already gotten an email from my side job asking about a missed shift, or that I was still worrying whether I'd be able to afford the prescriptions they sent me home with. During those 3 days, my phone lit up with 11 messages from my family. Not a single one said, "How are you?" or "We're worried." Just reminders. That's meets from Dad. "Don't forget about the mortgage." And a few hours later, bill came in. Due by Friday. From Mom. "There's a cute sweater on sale. Can you send me $50? And the next day, "Do you remember where you got that blender? Ours broke. Can you send a link?" From Josh. A Venmo request that said, "Bless you, sis," and a laughing emoji. Then another. "Mom said you're not answering. You good? Just send it if you're busy." And a few more. Stickers. Memes. Actual memes. They knew I was in the hospital. And the only things they could think to message me about were bills, blenders, and sweaters. Plus one sad face emoji. I didn't cry. I laughed. Out loud. In the hallway. One of those dry, cracking laughs that start deep in your chest and sound borderline unhinged. The nurse turned around to look. I waved her off. I didn't text back. Didn't call. Didn't try to explain or argue. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed one sentence. "They don't love me. They depend on me." Then I curled up on the stiff hospital mattress and cried. Maybe from exhaustion. Maybe from that sharp, aching grief you only feel when you realize something you've been hoping for your whole life, like a family who genuinely loves you, just doesn't exist. And never did. That was the moment. The end. I made a decision. I came home drained. Bags under my eyes, a prescription bag in my hand, and a long list from the doctor of things I was absolutely not supposed to do. The fridge was humming like an old washing machine. Usually that drives me crazy. But that night, the low, steady noise actually felt comforting. Because it was mine. And unlike everything else, it didn't want anything from me. My phone, on the other hand, kept buzzing. Messages, bills, reminders. Business as usual. I made coffee. Sat down by the window. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I just sat. Did nothing. Well, not nothing. My mind kept spinning. I started thinking about something my mom said to me when I was 10. Josh had woken up in the middle of the night crying. Mom came into my room and said, "Aaron, honey, be a sweetheart and rock him for a bit. Mommy has a migraine. But you're the grown-up one. You've got this." I remember feeling weirdly flattered. I was the grown-up one. I could handle it. That phrase stuck. It became the soundtrack of my childhood. At 11, I was the one putting Josh to bed every night. My parents would go run to the store, or grab a quick dinner, which sometimes turned into midnight. Josh would scream for Mom. I'd hold him in my pajamas, crying silently while trying to calm him down. But I was the grown-up, right? I'd handle it. By 13, I was picking him up from daycare, bringing him home, making him mac and cheese because Mom's too drained, and Dad's brain is fried from work. Josh didn't have homework yet, but I had to read to him. It's good for development. They called it helping. But helping is something you can say no to. And I never had that option. If I said, "I have homework," they'd go, "Your homework can wait. Josh needs you. He only has us." He only had us. But somehow I was always part of that us, never the kid who needed care too. I remember being 14, invited to a friend's birthday. Bowling. Pizza. I was so excited. My parents even said yes. Then that morning Mom said, "Look at Josh. He's running a fever. You wouldn't leave me alone with a sick child, would you?" And just like that, I stayed home. Later, I watched the birthday pictures go up online while Josh yelled at me because the soup was too hot. It wasn't his fault. He was just a kid. But so was I. No one seemed to notice. Trying to clear my head, I started cleaning my place. Decluttering. And I found this old box of childhood stuff. Photos, drawings, some little things I'd saved. One photo stopped me cold. Me, 10 years old, kneeling on the kitchen floor with a rag in hand. I remembered that exact day. Mom said guests were coming. Josh was napping so I couldn't vacuum. You'll wake him. He went off to get ready. Dad was in the garage. And I was scrubbing the floors in socks, hands raw. You're the grown-up one. You understand. At one point I even asked, why doesn't Josh help clean? Mom blinked and said, he's a boy. And he's younger. Don't you get that? Years later, when Josh dropped out of college, I paid the rest of his dorm fees. Told them it was the last time. A month later, Mom texted. He wants to take a design course. It's only $300. Could you? And yeah, I paid that too. I kept telling myself this was temporary. That my parents were just tired. That they struggled with life. That they needed support. That if I just held everything together long enough, if I kept being helpful and selfless and kind, one day they'd finally say it. We're proud of you. They never did. What I got instead. You're working again? You're so strong. You've got stability. We don't. Things come easy for you. Josh has it harder. Sometimes I tried to hint that I was tired. That it was getting too much. But every time the conversation turned into the same predictable guilt trip. So what, you're just gonna abandon us now? You're being dramatic. Ungrateful, that's what you are. We raised you and now you can't even help. So I'd shut up. Follow it. Keep working. Until the hospital. Lying there, hooked up to N4, I realized something I hadn't let myself admit in years. I didn't have to carry all of this. I pulled out a notebook and started writing. Just so I wouldn't forget. How much I sent them every month. What bills I covered. What things I bought. How many times I said no to myself. My life, my needs. Just to keep them comfortable. By the time I finished that list, it hit me. I could have been living in a decent apartment. I could have taken a real vacation. I could have, lived. Like an actual human being. Instead, I gave everything. And the only thing I got back was, can you send a little more? Not this time. I was done pretending they didn't know what they were doing. Done letting them drain me like a bottomless ATM. And definitely done paying for Josh's damn car. My phone kept buzzing nonstop. I finally picked it up. 23 unread messages. I took a deep breath and started reading. I hadn't replied, so the tone was shifting. Fast. At first, they were pretending to be concerned. Mom wrote, Sweetheart, how are you? I'm worried. Please text me. Almost sweet. Almost real. A few hours later. We got the electricity bill. Can you send the payment by Friday? Otherwise, we'll get charged a fee. There was maternal love. Over in 2 text. Josh, as usual, went full drama mode. Erin and hello? You alive? Then right after. If you died, could you still cover my car payment? Oh. And then. No, seriously. I need it by the day after tomorrow. About half an hour later, a short, irritated one from Dad. Erin, where are you? Your mother's worried. Don't you have any decency? I stopped reading after that. Had to protect my sanity. Turned the phone off and tried to sleep. Didn't go well. My thoughts kept me up. Heavy. Spinning in circles. I woke up with a splitting headache and eyes that felt like sandpaper. Just stared at the dark screen of my phone, sitting silent all night. Eventually I turned it on. Just in case something was urgent. It rang immediately, loud and demanding. I didn't answer. A few seconds passed. It rang again. And again. And again. They hadn't cared about me when I was in an actual hospital. They hadn't cared when I texted, I'm on 4 fluids. But now that I'd gone silent, now they were panicking. Because silence was dangerous. Silence meant risk. Silence meant the source might finally dry up. The calls started alternating with texts. The last one from Dad read, Erin, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you responding? You didn't forget the mortgage, did you? It's due on Thursday. And that was the moment. I finally did what I should have done a long time ago. I sat down and texted Dad short and to the point. I can't help this month. I've got my own expenses. 30 seconds later. Scene. Then silence. Long pregnant silence. And then, boom. The flood. What do you mean you can't? It's just one transfer. You know how hard things are for us. You're abandoning your family? We were counting on you. Wow. Selfish much. Don't you remember everything we've done for you? I read each one and felt something harden inside me. Like I'd been soft clay for years. Moldable, warm, helpful. And suddenly, I was concrete. Said, unbreakable. I didn't cry. Not anymore. I just knew I wasn't on their leash anymore. Typed out a final reply. I don't owe you. And hit send. Then I turned off my phone. No drama. No explosions. Just off. I grabbed my coat and walked outside. No plan. No destination. Just air. Eventually, I ended up at a little home goods shop near my apartment. One of those places I always walked past thinking, later. After payday. After I cover their bills. After Josh gets his life together. After. But this time, no later. I picked up a big ceramic mug. Deep green, thick-walled, with a golden rim. Heavy in my hands. Saw it. And I thought, I deserve to drink from a good mug. Not a chipped one from my parents' kitchen. Not some giveaway from a conference. A real mug. For me. Because I want it. Then I walked into a jewelry store. Simple silver earrings. No gems. No flash. Just clean lines. I put them on and, for the first time in a long time, I felt pretty. Not for anyone else. Just for me. It wasn't retail therapy. It wasn't revenge shopping. It was a homecoming. To myself. When I got back, I turned my phone back on. I finally felt ready to look at the new messages. 22 missed calls. 8 voicemails. Emails. Guilt trips. Threats. Jokes that weren't funny. Pressure dressed up as concern. Dad, you have no idea what this is doing to us. Mom, I thought you were better than this. I was wrong. Josh just sent one message. Wow. Seriously? You're really cutting us off. I sat down at the kitchen table, pulled out my notebook and opened to that page. The one with all the numbers. Everything I'd paid when, for what and for whom. Mortgage for my parents. Utilities. Difference. Josh's car. His online courses. Holiday gifts. Dinners. Their emergencies. I totaled it all again. Over the past 3 years I could have bought a used car. Or put a down payment on a place of my own. And then at the bottom of the list I wrote. Starting this month, $0. Big bold period. Then I exhaled. After all those calls and messages I ignored, there was finally silence. For 2 whole days my phone didn't buzz once. No reminders about bills. No passive-aggressive texts. No sticker spam in the family group chat. Just peace. And honestly, it was glorious. I even started wondering, maybe they got it. Maybe they finally understood. Maybe they were giving me space. Yeah. Right. On day 3 my dad called. He never calls. Usually it's just quick texts, no fluff. But this time, ringing. I didn't pick up. 10 seconds later a message popped up. Pick up. Urgent. Mom's not well. My stomach dropped. The phone rang again. I answered. Aaron. Finally, he said, voice shaky. I don't know how to tell you this. Your mom had a bad episode this morning. We called an ambulance. The doctors said it was stress-related. Her blood pressure spiked, her heart. She could barely breathe. We were terrified. I stayed quiet. This is because of you, he added more quietly. She's been so worried. You disappeared. You weren't answering. We didn't know what was going on. He thought she lost you. That you walked away from us. We all love you so much. I wanted to say, where were you when I was in the hospital? But he didn't give me the chance. She's still not doing well, he whispered. She's pale. Says her chest hurts. I don't know. If you want to see her alive, please come. Tell her you're not mad. Tell her you haven't left. Then he hung up. I dropped the phone on the bed and started throwing clothes on. My head was spinning. That phrase rang in my ears. If you want to see her alive. Mom had always been the fragile one. Always something, blood pressure, migraines, mysterious symptoms. And I always believed her. What if this time it's real? Hospital? Home? I didn't ask. I just drove. They met me at the door. Dad opened it himself like he'd been waiting. Mom was in bed in a dim room with the curtains drawn. It smelled like medicine and something sour. She looked tired, small, like she'd been through something. Barely speaking. Josh sat at the edge of the bed, quiet, serious, playing the doting son. Mom looked up and whispered, Aaron, I'm so glad you came. I sat next to her and held her hand. My eyes burned. Because no matter what, she's still my mom. And she looked like something had really happened. She whispered. I got so scared. I had a dream that you left us. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry if we were unfair to you, she said. It wasn't out of malice. We love you so much. When you stopped responding, it was terrifying. It all seemed so believable. Too believable. I started second-guessing everything. Maybe I had overreacted? For the next few days I came over every evening. Helped around the house. Grabbed groceries. Mom mostly stayed in bed and everyone spoke in hushed tones. Sometimes she got up but not for long. Said she felt dizzy. I bought her a new blanket. Soft gray like a cloud. Something cozy, something nice. Then I ordered her fluffy slippers. I wanted to take care of her. Do something kind. No one asked about money. But Mom did mention offhand. The new meds are expensive. Insurance doesn't cover all of it. But it's fine, we'll manage. I sent $120 for the medication. Dad said, thank you. Hopefully she gets better soon. A few days later. The washing machine broke, Mom said, barely above a whisper. I don't know how we're going to do laundry now. So I sent $400 for a new one. Just like that, I was back in my old role. Helpful. Supportive. Convenient. Everything felt almost normal again. Just quieter. More tense. Then one evening as I was doing the dishes in their kitchen, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Why didn't you come when I was in the hospital? I asked. You didn't even text. I waited. Mom looked down. Didn't say a word. Dad stepped into the room. I twisted my ankle, he said. Really bad. Couldn't walk. And your mom couldn't leave me alone. We were worried truly. It was just the situation. You understand, right? Yeah. I understood. I'd been understanding my whole life. And the next day, everything fell apart. I stopped by the bakery near my apartment to grab some rolls. On the way out, I ran into Mrs. Parker, my parents' upstairs neighbor. Mom used to chat with her all the time. She smiled at me just like always. Started small talk. I smiled back, nodded politely. Then she asked, so how's your mom doing? She's doing better, I said with a soft smile. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, was she sick? I froze. Hope it wasn't anything serious, she went on before I could answer. Funny though, I saw her just last Friday. She looked great. All bright and chipper. We ran into each other by the makeup aisle. I asked if she had a special occasion and she just laughed and said, finally, a day off for myself. And now she's sick. I blinked. Friday? I asked. Evening? Yep. Around 6. The place was packed. Friday. The very same Friday she supposedly had a severe episode. The day I rushed to their house and sat by her bed while she clutched her chest and whispered like she was on her deathbed. Weak. Barely speaking. I left around 5. Hey, what? Got up, changed and went shopping? In a daze, I drove straight to my parents' place. Maybe Mrs. Parker got the day wrong. Maybe she confused my mom with someone else. Maybe it was all just a coincidence. They couldn't have actually done something so low, so manipulative. I showed up like normal. Didn't say a word. Acted like everything was fine. That evening, while I was putting away dishes in the kitchen, I heard Josh talking on the phone in his room. Phew. That was close. I really thought she was gonna cut us off. He laughed. But nope, she came back. Mom should have gone into acting seriously. Even I believed her. We pulled it off like a movie. I stopped. Just stood there in the hallway. Listening to my brother, the same one I rocked to sleep as a baby, mocking me, laughing about how easy it was to reel me back in. All of them. In on it. A performance. A setup. Me. Back in my usual role. Provider, fixer, the good daughter with the open wallet. Josh must have felt my stare. He turned and saw me standing in the hallway. His face flushed. Aaron, he mumbled. What's up? I looked at him. Didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say. I walked past him. Grabbed my bag. Pulled on my coat. Tell Mom and Dad, I said calmly. They really sold it. Great job. Then I opened the door and left. Outside it was freezing. Windy, maybe even raining, I don't remember. I didn't feel any of it. I wasn't crying. Something inside me had finally gone quiet. Something else had finally woken up. It's been 6 months. I've got a new apartment now. Small, but it has windows that look out onto the park. In the morning I hear birds. In the evening, I catch the smell of fresh coffee from the bakery downstairs. Sometimes I wake up and can't quite place what I'm feeling. This strange lightness, this calm, even breathing. Then I remember. It's peace. I don't owe anyone anything anymore. I live my life. I don't work weekends. I have hobbies again. I read real books now. Not worksheets, not therapy guides, actual novels. I joined a pool. Bought myself a new couch. Not because it was on sale, but because it was soft and beautiful. For Christmas I went to Seattle. Just because I wanted to. I don't have a family anymore. But I have myself. And as it turns out, that's more than enough. I also have friends now. The real kind. The ones who didn't judge, didn't guilt trip me, didn't hit me with the well, maybe it's more complicated than that. We drink coffee together, text at night, sometimes sit in silence, and it's enough. They don't demand, don't manipulate, don't keep score. And my family? Well, let's just say cutting off the money supply triggered a mild apocalypse. Josh, poor thing, had to say goodbye to his car. The bank repossessed it when they realized he had neither a job nor a brain. He still hasn't found his path, by the way. My dad's freelance projects magically vanished. Turns out he'd just been watching YouTube in the garage this whole time. I guess the universe finally got tired of pretending that counted as work. And my mom? She made a brave return from her decade-long sabbatical of being too emotionally sensitive for office environments, and marched herself down to the employment office. Last I heard, she's still looking for a job that lets her sleep in and be surrounded by only kind people. They had to sell the house, couldn't afford the mortgage. Now they all live together in a cramped one-bedroom on the other side of town. Rumor has it they still talk about my betrayal at dinner. Apologize? Of course not. That would require self-awareness. Much easier to paint me as the ungrateful daughter who destroyed their cozy little setup. They even tried rallying extended family. Sent out their little PR campaign. Emails, calls, dramatic sob stories. She abandoned her mother, who nearly died of heartbreak. After everything we've done for her. I thought Erin was the responsible one. Turns out she's just selfish. I got texts and calls from cousins I haven't spoken to in years. Great aunts. Random relatives who barely remembered my birthday. How could you do this to your mom? Did you really walk out on your parents like that? I always thought you were the mature one. I guess we were wrong. Each message was like a tiny splinter under my skin. First I ignored them. And then I got mad. Not meltdown mad. Not posterant online mad. Strategic mad. I opened Google Drive. Made a folder. Named it, For Everyone Who's Concerned. Inside I uploaded my bank statements from the last 3 years. Screenshots of transfers. To mom, to dad, to Josh. Screenshots of text messages. Mom saying, "You don't want us sitting in the dark, do you?" Josh begging, "If you don't help, I'll get kicked out." Dad reminding me, "Mortgage is due soon." I added one special file. A message from my mom thanking me for covering Josh's therapy course, which turned out to be a subscription to some online gaming platform. Then I sent the folder to everyone who came at me. No drama. No insults. Just a line that said, "Before you judge, here's a bit of what was happening behind the scenes." Some people apologized. Some disappeared. A few doubled down with the classic. But they're your family. You can't just walk away from family. Yeah, well, turns out family isn't the people who gave birth to you. It's the people who don't treat you like a human battery pack for their life. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm healing. Because sometimes, the only way to become yourself is to break free from the role they shoved you into as a kid. Thanks for sticking with me to the very end. What do you think? Did I do the right thing? Let me know in the comments. And hit subscribe if you enjoy stories like this.